building.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Chuck Walder. I'm the Geauga County Auditor. I hope that this particular item will be more favorable for you today. I know the comment was made earlier. We need good news, and I'm in agreement with that. So first off, I just want to express that I am very concerned with the long-term effects of certain initiatives that are happening at the state level, as well as grassroots efforts that are going on across the state, which I believe will affect, if successful, revenue for not only the county, but for all agencies that operate under the county. And in that regard, I think we all, as public servants, have a duty to be proactive and not simply reactive. I, for one, feel that the taxpayers in the last several years have not only been yelling what they want, they have felt that government oftentimes it has been ignoring them. And I think we have an opportunity to perhaps change that paradigm. In that regard, I have to also look at some issues that I'm personally involved with that I have to hold myself equally accountable to the taxpayers, just as you all do on a daily basis. So I want to address a couple of these things. I have three current initiatives, absent a couple that I've already talked to Amy about, but which were projects which were long overdue. I think no one has debated that a couple hundred-year-old buildings need periodic maintenance and renovation. One was a bathroom addition in the auditor's office to help sustain 11 employees who currently are sharing one bathroom. Another was to modernize a bullpen area for both payroll and budgeting employees to make it more private, if you will. They work on sensitive information, as you can imagine, and in a bullpen, that information is subject to a lot of ears. And then the last project was a basement project to renovate the area below the courthouse annex, which would turn it into a conference area to be used by a variety of commissions, including the Budget Commission, the Board of Revision, ADP, similar type of meetings that are held regularly. And again, I want to acknowledge that this board has historically accepted that we are in need of renovation. I will say, though, there's been a huge change in, I think, the public's weighing of wants and needs. I think our duty as public servants is to ask for revenue and money when we have a true need, not necessarily when we have a want. And I think the public has elevated that bar, right? The public has said things that we used to argue were needs are really wants. And I think that's a fair argument, and I think we have to honor that argument. So I have done that. I have looked at my three projects, and as I weigh them, I believe they tip more toward the want scale than the need scale. And although we can make a pitch for, there's convenience and there's probably more efficiencies, I don't think those outweigh the need test. And so for that reason, I am here to ask the commissioners to disregard and, in fact, put on permanent hold the three initiatives that I have had on the table. And I think in doing so, we properly respect and honor what the taxpayers are saying. I'm not saying that if I have an issue that I believe is safety related or security related, I will come before you, and I would expect that you would accept that in the spirit that it's intended. But in this particular scenario with these particular projects, I can't in good conscience say to you that they're safety related or security related. They are more want than need. So I hope you would accept that withdrawing of it. I think some folks in maintenance will breathe a sigh of relief because there was work being done. I don't think that work goes to waste. I think we should table the information we've received. When situation changes, that information is still relevant, and I think we can use it. but we haven't outlaid a huge amount of money yet for those projects. So I'm hoping that that meets with your approval, and I've prepared a letter to memorialize this so that you have a record of my request, so nobody comes back later and says, I didn't really mean what I said. I know I conveyed to Amy earlier of the first two projects that was my intention, but I was still investigating the basement project. And the more I looked into it, quite frankly, I recognized that a couple 100-year-old building, when you start opening up the can of worms, to Commissioner Spitaleri's comment earlier, it seems like change orders are the common, right? I wouldn't anticipate this project being any different because the building is ancient. I don't know what's behind those walls, and neither does the contractor. And I don't think the taxpayers have the temperament or temperature right now of accepting a bottomless pit. So I'm happy to answer any questions with regard to that, but I think I've articulated it the way I want.
Well, Chuck, thanks for coming before us, and I appreciate your thoughts on this. How much do you think these three projects were going to cost taxpayers?
I would say conservatively, you're looking at least $1 million of the three combined.
Okay. Can we give this money back to taxpayers?
Looking at you, Adrian, not me.
Yeah. Is there a mechanism we could use? I mean, we already budgeted for these projects, correct?
No, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, basically the project that got approved today, the Safety Center parking lot, is going to consume pretty much all of the available resources in the building improvements fund. So I'm going to have to, as some of these other projects started progressing, I'm going to have to start moving some money. I've managed to transfer a little over $800,000 into the capital transfers out account today due to the graciousness of the sheriff's office to forego some funding that we had obligated for 911 and 800 megahertz.
Okay.
And there's a couple other sources of revenue that I have identified that we would be able to move over there. We did this year lower a children's services levy by $1 million,
Right.
which the second half payment was today for $500,000.
Yep.
So there are mechanisms out there for us to reduce taxes, various levies,
Yeah.
have the general fund reimburse those. There are other areas of tax relief, as I've been communicating of late.
Yeah, I mean, just to summarize it for the other commissioners. So Adrian and I have had discussions. I think it was part of the state budget. Is that correct, Chuck? That expanded the ability for the commissioners to expand the owner-occupied credit or the homestead exemption. So that'd be a way for us, and there are things exclusively for the commissioners to vote on. So those are ways we could grant tax relief in our county to our property owners. We could also look at suppressing a levy like has been done with the child services levy the past 2 years. Is that correct?
3 years. Well, I think 3 years ago. I don't think we did anything last year, and then
You did it last year.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so to your point with the two initiatives that the state has offered counties to perform on, both the homestead and the owner-occupied credit extension would allow you to tap into inside millage for all entities within the county to pay for that service. So the direct effect to the county is approximately 25%. I will say Geauga is very fortunate in that we're a healthy county financially, different than some other counties, perhaps in southeastern Ohio. So in that regard, I think it's a shared burden that, would probably be very welcomed by our residents. And I think, I don't want to go out on too far of a limb here, but I think it's fair to say that all entities within Geauga County are adequately funded. None of them are underwater or in risk of being dissolved because of insolvency. Having said that, I think Adrian will attest, we are on mark on our sales tax figures for collection this year. We're actually up a little bit on conveyance monies. So we are still performing ahead of what we anticipated. Granted, it's more modest than in past years, but we are still benefiting from, the activity of the county. Yeah. And I think the taxpayers are begging for relief.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's why we're seeing these ballot initiatives, right? And other, sort of unrest, I think, going on towards the State House about what's going to be done. But if we have these options here in the county level, I think we should at least be exploring this more and seeing how we could be providing some relief to our taxpayers.
Yeah, in the past, the commissioners have, as Adrian indicated, you have returned back to the taxpayers of Geauga $1 million a year, and you have taken that from a non-qualified levy collected through for Jobs and Family Services, and then replaced that money through the general fund, through a transfer of the general fund when property tax is collected by the county. That is certainly always an option for the commissioners to consider.
And at that time, approximately 3 years ago, the commissioners were asking for some kind of tax relief, and the Budget Commission, prosecutor, auditor, and the treasurer, they come up with this, and it was a state-of-the-art move to give tax relief, and I think that we're on the right track to do something creative like this, and it's commendable that you would put these 3 projects on hold to benefit the majority or all of the taxpayers in Geauga County. So, I think now that we have some avenues that things were changed at the state level, I think we should capitalize that to create tax relief in concert with the Budget Commission. So.
Pregnant pause. Are there any other questions or anything else you'd like me to look into?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll just have to continue the conversation about expanding the owner-occupied and the homestead exemption and work with Adrian on that a bit. But I certainly have a lot of appetite for that. I don't know, what do you gentlemen think?
I want to move forward on this and, even drill down on, with the farmers, with the CAUV. Things were changed in the last year or two, and it's devastating for them. And if we could come up with something that's lawful and doable, I'd want to just keep hammering away at this.
I think, Commissioners, that the owner-occupied would benefit farmers. Obviously, most farmers live on the property that they're farming. And many farmers in Geauga County are elderly, so I think also homestead is something that would be considered by them. I know in the past we have provided to you, and there is some time pressure for both expanding those 2 issues, as well as if you are going to consider any sort of return to the taxpayer.
Yeah.
We do have a clock that runs.
Is it the end of next month?
Well, by November, I have to be able to have the tax rates prepared so that you can pass a resolution to accept the tax rate. Typically, we do that when there are levies on the ballot, because it may drift into early December. Once the ballot results get certified, you have to re-vote for that. But I would like to have that information prepared in advance so that we're not on the fly trying to do this.
Okay.
I'm happy to get that information over to you.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Let's go forward with that.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, thanks for coming in.
Sure, I will leave you with the letter of my intent.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? So, Mr. Walder, the resolution that was provided from the Budget Commission that we have to do by October 1st for the rates. Correct. We have to do it by October 1st. So I was planning on doing that next week before the board. And then we would just have to do another amended one, typically what we have to do based on levies.
Yes, so everybody even people that have a ballot issue on the ballot, everyone has a rate resolution that is typically passed in October, which is the one you're referring to. If a ballot language is successful, then you get an updated rate resolution and you pass again, which overrides the one you would now do. If that levy, for example, were to fail at the ballot, then we just go with the one that you've provided. So we do that so that we're not in the month of December when we're preparing information for the state on our DTEs, we're not scrambling to prepare all the documents from original form. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.